Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Sam Clift. I love to create drawing tutorials and creative mindset magic videos, as well as art business videos, anything connected to being a full-time artist. Today I'm going to be going through a tip video on how to draw this beautiful barn owl in coloured pencils. This is Pastelmat. I have time-lapsed this video because I think it's important to get every aspect in, but I have voiced over and talked you through what I'm doing. If you do want to see this full tutorial real time, I think it's about 12 or 13 hours, it is available on my Patreon channel, but I hope you enjoy the video and get some really helpful tips on your pencil journey. Getting started as always with the eye, I go in with the either dark sepia or black coloured pencil just to start to map in what I need to do, filling in the darkest parts with the black, or the Payne's grey is also a really good one, making sure that you're leaving the highlights free. I will come back to these to make them look even more glassy. They're very simple at the moment. I go in with my white luminance pencil just to start to map in the direction of the feathers. It's going to look really grainy and really strange at this point, going in with the cold greys, because as you know, a lot of the time white feathers or fur are not white. They've got so many different greys in, and I find a fab combination is to go in with the cold greys, the polychromos, so 1 to 6, and the warm greys as well, 1 to 6, and the combination of both is really good. I found that the white Faber-Castell pencil, which I don't really use for anything else because it's not very opaque, it's pretty transparent, was actually really good for blending the feathers in this drawing. So I went in with the cold grey 1 on this side and then started to build up with the different greys. I added a little bit of the browns, the raw umber around the eyes, a little bit of burnt ochre. Then I went up through the browns to the Van Dyke and the walnut brown just to darken around the eyes a little bit. As you can see in any reference photo, there is a lot of brown around a barn owl's eyes. Going in with the it used to be called the light flesh, I think it's called red beige now, in the polychromos for the beak, and now we're going in with the white polychromos pencil to blend and to highlight any areas where the light catches the feathers. You can see now I'm going in and really adding a little bit of brown to the eyes, a lot more dark to make sure that they're nice and crisp. Working on Pastelmat, you do have a little bit of a graininess issue, and it can look a little bit unfinished sometimes, so you have to make sure that you go in and just tidy up any edges. So I'm just going in with a little bit of the raw umber around the edge, the feathers, and adding some cold greys and some darker greys, the cold grey 6, cold grey 5, and also the dark sepia around the owl's face, and then going in with the ivory and the white and the warm grey 1 into the rest of the head of the owl, blending away, adding lots of layers, going in with the greys to add a little bit of a muted look, and then going in with some browns, the Van Dyke, the raw umber, and just making a little bit of a pattern. I'm not adding too many details. It looks like a lot of details, but actually I'm going in colour blocking at the beginning, and then I'm just adding tiny little dots in some places just to give that feeling of detail. I'm not actually spending ages on the detail. Just going around the edge and making sure that the different kind of layers of feathers are more defined. So I'm darkening up the shadows, going in with a little tiny bit of black in some places. I don't usually go in with black until I know I'm not really going to add many more colours, and I do try to add black over the top of other colours so it doesn't look flat, or even putting some colours on top of the black. Working down into the body, now I've added the little dots. This is a female, I think, because they have dots on their feathers. I'm going in with the greys again, the cold greys, building up through the layers, adding the layers of brown into the shadowed areas, going in with the cold greys, and just using tiny squiggly lines to create these patterns on the feathers. It looks complicated from a distance, but actually it's literally just scribbly lines and then the odd little dash of white with a dash of either Payne's grey or black on top of that to create these funny little kind of stripes in the feathers. I'm going in with the dark sepia just to darken up the darkest shadows of the wing, so it looks like it's actually sitting behind, and then I'm moving on to the next section, going in with the light pencils to begin with, the browns on top of that, a little bit of burnt ochre, And then going in with the greys, again, squiggly lines going from light to dark, building them up, and then I can go in with the white and either the black or the Payne's grey to add these dots on the feathers. And it just looks so detailed, and actually this is one of the quickest bits. Again, lots of squiggly lines with the greys, some warm grey, going in with the burnt ochre and the raw umber, just adding a little bit of brown and then going in with those lines. I'm actually burnishing the lines. I'm pressing quite hard. Pastelmat is amazing because you can add so many layers. I don't think I've ever run out of layers on Pastelmat. So even if you press really hard, you have got more layers to go in. I zoom out every now and again just to check how it's looking, and I think that's a really good tip, that you just every now and again step away, look how it's looking, because you can get a little bit bogged down, especially when there's lots of different textures and colours going on in one place. So you can see how close up now I've added those little dots and dashes, and then I'm building up, colour blocking, layering the warm greys, the cold greys, and then just using squiggly lines with the darker greys just to add up a little bit of kind of texture and give that illusion of detail, going in with the Payne's grey and a little bit of black, the burnt ochre, the raw umber, a little bit of sanguine I think I put in here, there's a touch of kind of pink, and then I'll get that section almost 85% done, 80%, 90% done before I move on to the next, because you don't actually know how dark to go until you've got the areas around it completed. Going in with that burnt ochre again, it's such a lovely colour for these feathers, and you can see I'm going in and darkening the shadows, but I couldn't do that until I had the section underneath completed, and then well, not completed, but put in, and then I'll go in and add more details to that, darkening up the areas that need darkening. The values are the most important. Getting the colours right, you know, actually you could draw a blue dog with lots of different blues and it would still look realistic. The values are the most important, the lights and the darks, getting the lights really light, and Pastelmat's amazing for that because you can add light over dark. The white really stands out on this grey Pastelmat, which is why I chose it for this owl, and you can see it's really easy to add all of those details in. I'm darkening up as much as I can in the places that need it, and then I can actually go back in and lighten up with some ivory and some cream, really darkening up under the wing. There's hardly any light that gets under there, and you want to make sure that the wing is looking like it's sitting on top of the section of feathers below. And to do that, you need to create that really dark shadow. So don't be afraid to go in with the dark sepia, the warm grey 6, and black if necessary. Moving on to the white section now, I'm just tidying up around the neck, going in with the cold greys and the warm greys, the lighter colours to begin with, and then building up with the darkest colours, going in to create these kind of clumps of feathers. And also this creates that form, so it looks like the body, the chest of the owl is actually curving around. If I didn't add these little clumps in and these shadows under the clumps, then it would look really flat. So going in and darkening, and then you can blend so it just looks nice and smooth, adding the little dots once I'm happy with the outcome of that. And I do actually have a video on blending somewhere on my channel. It's not very far away, so it's specifically about that section that I just did if you want more detail on that. And then moving into the wings underneath, again building up the layers of the warms and the cold greys, darkening up. I find that the darker pencils are really good if you use them lightly to map out where you are. It's like little signposts in your drawing, so that when you step away you know exactly where you are to come back to it. I'm not doing anything different here. I'm basically working my way around the drawing, darkening up as much as I can, and going into the feet. The feet look like there's so much detail. I've really simplified that, so I'm just colour blocking and just adding the shadows where they need to be, missing out some of the details. I'm basically just thinking about the shapes that are created by the different colours on the feet. And I'm not thinking about drawing feet, I'm not thinking about drawing talons, I'm just thinking about the shapes and the colours that are created, and that seems to really help. And before you know it, there are feet there. So I'm just going back in and blending away, glazing over the top with a few colours just to make sure they are as dark as they need to be. Darkening up the shadows, it tends to sink in a little bit. And once you've got everything in, you can see how dark you need to go. You can add some lighter colours on top of the dark shadows to create those little furs. And then just going into the log, again, I used the same technique. I colour blocked and I just thought about the different colours, adding some May green and some earth green yellowish here, and thinking about the shapes that are created with the colours rather than trying to make it look like a log. And you just got to trust the process here, and it all seems to work out quite well. Don't forget to go in with the darker colours and add the dark sepia and all of those colours that are needed to create the shadows, and then the detail a little bit at the end, and then lighter to finish. And then zooming out, there's the finished piece. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and you found it helpful. If you did, then please don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. And don't forget that I do have full tutorials in watercolour pencils, graphite and coloured pencils, as well as creative mindset magic, including hypnotherapy and meditation, on my Patreon channel. I'll put the link in the description below. Thank you so much for your support and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.